Morning, everybody. So I'm back with the gauges again and a little coffee. I'm starting a little late because I had a lot of things to do. So we're back. This was not easy. I would tell you one thing. Hold on one second. Oh, it's hot. I should know better. I should have put it in a coffee cup, but I don't think I have any left. Sometimes I put one there so I don't get all junk in it. Nah, I ain't got one. So I'm going to show you here what I got as I drink my coffee. Now this is going to be really hard to I'll show you a little bit. I would not do this if I was you. Let me get rid of this person. So I would not do this if I was you, but I did it anyway. I'm going to try. I don't think it's going to work, but what the heck. Worst comes to worst, we get another gauge. So this is the gauge I was having a problem with, and the nut on the back, if you look at it, it was all messed up, and the thing is it's spinning within the gauge. So the gauge, I'd say, is broken inside. That's what I would think, but I don't know. So it's probably a very cheap gauge. It is the oil pressure gauge, pretty important. So what I did was I took the original nut and I, like off of another gauge, and I put a different nut on here. That would be the voltage gauge right there. So the voltage gauge will work, that's not a problem. I wanted to use the original nut because I couldn't find the tap and die set. I don't have something that small. I tried to mic it. I couldn't get the right tap and die. So I have to put my sets back together. That I'll show you, that's nothing. So what I did is I took the original nut, I spun it, I took it on a grinder, I ground it off a little bit because I messed up the nut trying to take it off on the other video. So I got the nut started, and then I took a needle nose, put it on this side, and spun it all the way in, got nice threads. Now you got to grab it on the other side and take it off. So it's a 7mm nut on this small stud, and I think you can get a gauge probably pretty cheap for it. So I really wouldn't do this if I was you, but we did it because we go to the extreme here, and if it works, it kind of be a miracle, but I just don't think it's gonna. Very hard to get this nut on or off. Hey, we got it off. You had to grab one side of the stud with a needle nose, quite a bit of tension on it to get the original nut off. The only reason why I'm using original nut, I know that nut works with that stud. So if you strip it on, which it's not going to be stripped on, it'll work better. And I also had a little kit, another Harbor Freight kit here, that I used the nut out of there. I think it's the smallest nut here, so that would be, I'd say, number 8. I don't know, number 8 machine nut. I mean, it's on there. So we're gonna put the gauge back in. Gauge lines up, no problem, and it goes in that little cavity, so it can't rock too much. Put it through the printed circuit board. We're going to put this back on. It holds the connection. It gets some voltage. A little lock washer, which it came with stock, and the original nut. Let's see if this works. If it tightens it up a little bit better, but I just don't know how it will. No. See, I don't think there's any way to get this gauge to work right. It just spins. It's not going to work. Oh, wait. Almost tightened up there. Well, that's a hard one to get to work. I don't think the gauge is ever going to work right. It just doesn't have the voltage. It just won't tighten the nut up. I can't do much on this one. Let me take a lock washer out, maybe a little more of a bite. I mean, it's threading on, but take the lock washer off. Really try to squeeze that sucker down there. I don't think it's gonna work. It's just spinning. So what I'm gonna do is throw a lock washer on it and a small, see if I can find another washer here. Just need a small washer. Knocked over that whole package. It's not. Hopefully I didn't knock everything out of there. Oh boy. I tell you, you knock over one of these little packages, you got a mess. Eh, not that bad of a mess. What a mess. Even though it's a mess. I hate to. Hold on a second. I think I gotta try to get this package closed. There we go. I lost a couple nuts, big deal. You're all little nuts, right? Let me get that scroll. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add. I just had a lock washer over here. I'm gonna add a couple little washers. Hey, a couple fell out. Let's see if we get just a little price on that one. Just need a little something. Don't everybody, just need a little something. We're gonna put a little washer on there, and then the lock. And we're just gonna grab. I mean, we're gonna grab it, barely anything, but we'll grab something. Just spin. Oh wait. Okay. I got something. All right, so we got that together. It's barely holding on, but we got something. So I doubt that gauge will work. So we're gonna put this back together. There's the plate that goes in there. That fits nice, snug. All the gauges are back to normal. Trying to get it clipped in. Put the cover back on. There we go. We got a set of gauges ready to go. So we're gonna plug them in and see if they work. So let's bring down the Jeep and let's go. Let me put you on Robert here. See if Robert can look around a little bit. There you go, buddy. So hopefully this is off the locks. It's off the locks. We're clear. Okay. So I was doing this, I was raising this Jeep the other day all the way to the tippy top, and I think I could squeeze another Jeep underneath it. I got about 1 inch all the way on top of the lock. So if I put this thing all the way up with this top off, the other one will come in with the hard top on. 2 Jeeps in one little shop. It could be done. So let me move you over to the cluster. Here we are. Here's our mess again. Let me put you on the other side. Maybe you can see a little better. I'll put you on the other side. Let's see if Robert can. You know what? We'll turn Robert off because he's not going to be able to look at everything we're going on. So first things first. While we're on the cluster, that's the most important part. I don't know if you can see all that. Yeah, you can see it. Let's put this cluster in. Yeah, I didn't lose the key this time. And it just plugs in. Clicks in nice. That'll go up there. Screws that got it broken, they gotta come out anyway. But the tabs broke off, might as well remove the whole screw. And then the other screw on the other side, that tab broke off too. So it used to have 8, now you got 6. whatever, you don't got a full Jeep, that's why you pay half price. So that's the cluster. You bolt that in. I think that's how it works. That all lines up. That'll go in. So let's see if the gauges work before. Let's put one screw in. It'll be a lot easier to show you. Get this done. I want to get this interior done. I wanted to drive it, but now it's raining. It would have been beautiful to drive it yesterday, but I was driving the yellow submarine around. This one I just didn't want to. I didn't want to take out of the shop and then bring it back in the shop. I'd rather just finish it. So it's so funny. I plugged it in, and we already have the clock working. Let's set the clock because they're always accurate. 11:10. Push it in. Around to 11:10. There we go. We got 10. We got 11. There you go. We got set it up. Now let's see if we got some gauges working. All right. We should get. Hopefully, we'll get voltage to show 12. Oh, we got voltage. Oh, we got voltage, and we got a fuel gauge now. Son of a gun, it works. Now, this would be great if the oil pressure gauge works. I'm sorry, everybody. Alice. Let me point you a little without knocking you over. Wow. So we have voltage gauge now, clock. We have a tank. Now we know it works. And let's start it up. Even though I don't have an exhaust on here, and I'll probably die, but I'll only do it for a second. Let's see if the oil pressure goes up. This is no way going to go up until it heats up. So let's see if we get oil pressure. So that's that. Now let's put this all back together. I think I got everything together. So the radio is nice and taut. This has got some screws. Go together. Getting there. I'm gonna put it together anyway. Then I'm gonna order a gauge for it because I want it back on the road. And then we'll get an oil pressure gauge for it. It has oil pressure, that's not a problem. Maybe it doesn't have oil pressure. Maybe the gauge does work. No, it used to always work, and then you take it apart, now it don't work. But you got the fuel gauge. Now that I think is more important. I'd rather know I have fuel and I'm going down the road than I have fuel. And I like that because now we can just put the skid plate up. And we have one up. We have one here somewhere. I bought one, and it should be. I think it's a one piece. I like them better than the two pieces. Those two pieces are a pain to put together. So now we just have to put the skid plate, which you don't have to for sale. That's nice. And then the rest, we gotta get the heating controls back together. Let me make sure. Let's see if the heat controls work. So we got heat. Okay, it's moving the lever, so it works. And you got the control, cold to hot. That lever is working. And you got, of course, the fan was working. So that's that. We got a couple of screws everywhere. Those are the glove box we're gonna put together, and then these are for the heat controls. Put the heat controls back together. Because I want to get out of here. I said by 11. I had a schedule. Anybody that has a schedule, it never works, right? You always try to do everything. You want to get everything done. You know, shoot your goals, man. Shoot high. Take what you can get. So yesterday I was laying out a lot of rock. So now hopefully we won't get everything so muddy in here. We put a nice little pad out front, so if you want to look at these Jeeps, you can. It's right on my, my address, 346 DeMont Lane, right out front. You can see these things anytime. Just call if you want to, just call me, text me, leave me a voice. I don't even know if my voicemail works anymore. Yeah, it does actually. It does. So the heat controls are back, the radio's back, and you got the cluster back. Ah, man. You know what I forgot? Oh wait, no, I didn't. This piece goes here. It goes this way to protect the radio. Let's put that in it. So if it rains, it doesn't rain on the radio. Let's get some nice screws in there. So basically the rain, instead of pouring on your increments, your cluster gauges are pretty much waterproof. They're sealed up pretty good. They're high. That'll be no problem. But the radio would be a problem. And the heat controls are right underneath it, so it's protecting those. Remember, Jeeps never even had freaking, they didn't even have all these accessories way back when. But and the CD player on this one, there's a CD stuck in it, I think. So the CD player might not work. Now I've told a couple people, or a couple times, I said I didn't really care too much about the radio other than I wanted to work. Because, I don't know, you can change it, not change it. I mean, it kind of fits the era better. The CD players back then, detachable faces, all that stuff. There's two that fit. Why won't that line up? Why isn't that lined up? You know why? I think it's upside down. It's not upside down. It's upside down. I think it's upside down. We got two screws that line up and two that don't. I got it upside down? So, actually, how the heck did that line up? Well, you know what they do? They use the same screws for the gauges. They go underneath it. Well, we learned something now. Now we gotta take the cluster gauges out again. So you're using that plate, I guess it's a little higher, so the other screws don't line up with anything because there's nothing there. Usually, I mean, you can grab a drill on this one and drill it in and out real fast, but some of this old stuff, don't do that. It just doesn't work. It's better to get a nice old-fashioned feel for things. And then I'll put that on my list to order that little gauge. And we'll pop it in. I know that gauge works. Because it was working before. But I fixed that. Now it don't work. But hey, I got a fuel gauge that works. That's a lot more important than oil pressure. Even though oil pressure, you know what it is? It is important, but guess what? If you don't have oil pressure, you'll know. You'll be on the side of the road saying, I think my engine's wrong. That's a kind of a pain in the butt. Why do you do this? Kind of have to get two things started at the same time. It's stupid. So you kind of have to guess where it's going to go. But at least we showed you how everything goes back together. one, you got two, you got three, you got four, you got more. I would have said something perverted, but I'm not gonna, because I try to keep these videos a little clean. But everybody remembers the old saying, you know, if you can't find a hole, put some blah 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 on it. Well, fill in the blanks. We got three. Like I said, I keep the PG, right? We got four. Now you got a cluster. You got your fuel gauge, you got your temperature gauge, you got it protected, the radio is protected slightly. So what happens is, of course the one came out. What is bad yet? So the important thing is keeping this so you don't die on the side road. So what happens is the water's going to hit here, roll off here, and slide off there, and pass your radio and your heat control. So that is that. We can put back this piece, and we're starting to look like a Jeep. No, these are glove box. I have to pick black ones. I'd rather pick the black ones, especially when you see. Right now I can't see a damn thing. I'm just gonna guess. Good guess, huh? Starting to look nice. Really goes up, kind of goes really up this way. 3 and it should be 2 on the bottom. Okay, this one's a good one going, but now the point is, I'm going to have to get a little flashlight. I'm going to put those together, and that's about it. I'll be back, and I'm just just gonna find the rest of the screws. I'll get them in with a flashlight. I'll be back in a little while. Then we're gonna bolt that. There's my. I find one knife, I lose the other knife. I bet everybody. I'll be back in a little while.